All the best to all the speakers and do well.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Campus Care Debate Competition. I, Sakshi, your host of the evening, would like to welcome all our young speakers of the evening with brilliant minds who would like to express their viewpoints on the topic: is homeschooling better than a public or a private school education? Nowadays, homeschooling is gaining a lot of traction in Indian education system. It is where private tutors or parents fully dedicate to students to do their upbringing from school. It may sound an alien concept, but elite people are adapting this education system. And with this note, while students get complete attention and focused studies, lack of professional learning system and peer learning can be hampered. And to express their viewpoints on the same, we have these brilliant students with brilliant minds who would like to express their viewpoints on the same. So, students, the floor to speak and express your views. Who would like to go first?
So homeschooling is not better than traditional type of schooling because in homeschooling we can't meet our friends or there is no interactivity between anyone.
Okay. Who would like to go next?
I'd like to go next. So in homes, I'm for the statement homeschooling is better than private schooling. So the in homeschooling, stronger student teacher relationship is there as the teacher gets to know the student better as it's one-on-one teaching and learning. And yeah,
Alright, who would like to go next?
But homeschool, but in traditional schooling also the teacher and students relationship are very good and then the in the traditional schooling there is more interactivity between students and teachers.
You done, Kusai?
Yes.
Okay, who would like to go next?
Miss, this is Tahir Kanurwala, and I think homeschooling is better than private or public schooling because the child gets private attention, there is less peer pressure, and parents are more aware about their child than in private or public schooling.
Okay. Who would like to go next?
Okay, I'll go next.
Yeah, Richa.
For the topic. So, first, when a child is homeschooled, their parents are around their kids all day long. And if in that environment the parents or the kids have a fight, that could negatively impact the education on the child. Also, at when you're homeschooled, kids move at a slower pace, and that may affect their learning growth. Also, as people mentioned before me, there's no social interaction. The person can have trouble making friends. There may be less empathy skills, and other skills can also be lacking. It also stunts the child's emotional growth and social skills. Since we're children, we need a flourishing environment to grasp basic human traits in life. And in school, we don't only learn subjects or academic values, we also learn how to work with each other, teamwork, and basic human skills. So, those skills will lack in a homeschooled kid. And afterwards, in the real world, he will have to go out and meet people, and hence, there his social skills will lack. Also, another reason why we do go to school is to participate in sports and cultural activities. And a homeschool child will not get that many chances or qualities to even participate in such events. And even if they do, they'll have to, pay a lot. And so it's much easier for us in school to get all these activities. Also, teaching is not a natural quality. And if the parent does not have the traits of a good teacher or of a mentor, it can get rough on the child and the child cannot learn and grow in life. Not everybody can teach, and the parents aren't qualified to be teachers. So, teachers in our school are more qualified, and hence we can learn more from them. I think all these points show why homeschooling is not as efficient as going to a private or a public school.
Thank you, Nishta. Do we have anybody else? Do we have
Sure,
any?
I'll go. Yeah.
Rashida.
Okay, so while it may seem appropriate to adapt a learning style to keep up with the technology available to us, there are reasons to believe that homeschooling are not nearly as beneficial to us that traditional style classroom is. I'd like to start off by acknowledging that there are special students out there that need special attention. However, these students will one day grow up and participate in the upkeeping of the prevalent society. So they will need the education, the training, and the visual learning from the very beginning to be an active member of change and evolution. Also, when it comes to a student performing better, it does not just depend on the mode of learning that they take up. Instead, it depends on the sheer hard work and dedication towards learning. Traditional schooling brings out independence and responsibility in a child, and homeschooling usually unprepares in terms of mingling in socially in society and rarely renders extroverts or confident pupils. Quite a few homeschool families cite sports as a reason to enroll their children in public school. Homeschooling cannot go at the same pace as a public school, and that can put one child a little behind compared to their peers. And also, they'll not be prepared for the real world. They won't get to experience mean teachers, mean kids, bullying, or any of the things that kids get ready for life after high school. It's also an absence of approved curriculum structure. It's a financial burden to their parents. Um, Homeschooling lacks qualified educators, and the freedom of child is also abstained. So when we sum up all of this, it gives us a lot of many reasons to believe that homeschooling is not better than traditional schooling. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashida. Do we have anybody else next who would like to go? Anybody who would like to speak and haven't spoken?
I'd like to speak.
Yeah, Mustafa.
I'm also speaking against the motion. So, not to forget, if a parent does decide to homeschool their child, then they would have to devote all of their time to the child. Plus, there would be a lot of expenses. For example, the cost of books, interactive devices such as computers, interactive softwares, different types of games, so they can learn faster, etc. I feel that instead of buying gadgets and spending so much money, why not just enroll your child in a government or private school? Plus, if you do decide to enroll your child in a government school, the fees are extremely affordable. And if you go to compare the fees of a government school to the cost of you homeschooling your child, there's going to be a great difference. And the government school also offer a flexible fee structure, and you'll be surprised to find out that the government also provides free education to those who can't afford it. Thank you.
All right. Do we have next? Who do we have next?
So I'm also against the topic. So in homeschooling, if the parents are not there to see the child, so the child can be ill treated by the teacher if the teacher is mean or something else, or child would not be very attentive towards the teacher and its studies. So the parents has to waste their time to see their children's. So in the private school or in the traditional school, there are teachers that can see forward towards the child. And in homeschooling, if the child misses something, so he can't recover its portion. But in a traditional or in private schooling, he can ask his teachers or his friends, because in private schooling some teachers do not repeat the thing which has been done.
All right. Do we have who do we have next? So do we have Kangan or Juveria? Guys, the floor is open for interjection as well. So anybody who would like to interject, anybody?
Miss, I would like to speak.
Yeah, sure.
Miss, I would say that socialization and technology has always been proven uh, really wrong, because the youth right now does not know how to use social media correctly, and it has always misused the uh, features of the social media by uh, not doing proper and appropriate stuff on the internet and social media.
All right. So do we have anybody who would like to speak next?
Yeah, I'd like to go next. So uh, I'll talk about the schedule and the curriculum of homeschooling. So the schedule for students be homeschooled is very flexible. The curriculum to be followed can be adjusted according to the preference of the child. Any curriculum like the kindergarten school, preschool, high school, and etc. can be adopted for a child and by the child. So it makes him easier to learn the things that he wants, and there can be speedy learning.
Yeah, I can't see the raises of hand. So could you just prompt? People are
Can I
raising. Um,
can I add to it?
Okay.
Okay, Mohammed. Mohammed.
So as Faiz said, homeschooling doesn't. You don't have to adjust to the routine set by the school. The routine is customized as per the children's need, and there is no need of external. There is the time that the child needs to be adopted to the routine is deducted, and the routine is centered around the child instead of the child doing the work and gets and making changes to his day-to-day life.
Is the floor open for questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have a question for the opposing team. So Tahir, you mentioned something about social media and how children these days don't know how to act on social media. But as a homeschooled child, they don't have friends. So aren't they more likely to go on social media than a person who is in a public school? Because as a homeschool person, they may be seeing movies and TV shows and seeing about social media. Aren't they more likely to join those apps and try to make friends? So isn't it more dangerous?
Miss, I think we are aware about our social media through our friends only. And our parents or our teachers do not recommend us social media to act as a source of education. It's always our friends who advise us to use social media with them.
Yes, but like I said, movies and TV shows that day are surrounding social media. So the homeschool child can just pick up by watching these shows. What then?
How would the homeschooling child know about these places? Uh, there must be a person who must tell him or inform him about these apps or websites and things which are present in the social media for us to see and get us entertained.
Yeah, but I'll just repeat. I don't think you got the last bit. Yeah, speak. You want to speak?
So what Nishta's trying to say is, if a child is homeschooled, he's going to be home for the major part of the day. And let's face it, if you're sitting at home for like 8 hours a day, and your school goes on for 4 hours, so what do you do in the rest of the time? So you watch TV shows, you watch movies, etc. And not all TV shows and movies are about are about non-fiction and history and stuff. So I get it, you learn stuff from that, but let's face it, all children are not obedient, and everyone's not going to watch stuff like that. So if he or she tends to watch, for example, a TV show like Friends or Big Bang Theory or something, or many other shows, there is use of abusive language, plus there is a lot of, well, they try to influence you with their kind of culture. And also about the social media thing, the fact that, oh no, sorry, they're trying to stress upon the fact that social media is the way to socialize and stuff. And well, if you're just sitting home for the whole day, if without social media, how are you going to interact or make new friends? Hence you lack this basic skill of communication, and if you lack the skill of communication, you will not be able to do great in life, because most of the fields out there for jobs or etc. Include the basic life skills like communication,
Yes, Vahad.
Yeah, so I think you guys are confusing between homeschooling and isolation. A homeschooled child, there's no need for him to sit at his home all day. He can go out. It's just about the education. The education is at his home, but that doesn't mean he can't get out of his house.
Yeah, but if he goes out of his house, like because of school, we have friends, we have a friend group, we know how to communicate with people and socialize. He will go out and do what? He can't do anything. So I think the homeschool child will prefer to be home and, watch something on TV or something, because they don't know how to socialize. So what will they go out and do?
They can like go to a park and socialize with people out there. They can socialize with their neighbors. There's a lot of thing to do, but actually there are many friends aside from school. There are so many friends online.
Yeah, but that's my point, right? They don't know how to socialize because skills like these are learned in an environment with a lot of people, like in school. If they never learn the skill of socializing, they won't be able to socialize with anyone. Like, well, so what do you like? What's your? Can you shed some light on that?
They will learn it by the time, I guess. When they get out of the house, they will learn it. But to get out of the house, they need to socialize, and they will lack the socializing skill if they don't go to the private school or the traditional school. And because of it, they can also lack in their job opportunities. Like in many jobs, they ask about their socializing skills. Like keep the job thing aside, but I don't think that a person needs to socialize to get out of his house.
Okay, so is there anybody who would like to speak and who hasn't gotten the chance to speak till now? Anybody who hasn't expressed himself or herself about the topic, for the topic, or against the topic? I hope everybody is through. And there's no interjection, right? Everybody's through with the interjections and the cross questionings.
Yes.
All right, guys. So, what exactly are we talking about? Homeschooling. Homeschooling is seems like a knight in the shining armor that can make people believe that lives of the children can be easier. But be mindful of the fine print. Homeschooling is a lot of responsibility and is not for the faint-hearted. For homeschooling, as you decide for a homeschooling, you decide for a child's education into your own hands rather depending on school. And to uninitiate, homeschooling can be intimidating. Luckily, we are in a technology advanced time where we have all the information at our fingertips. You do not need a PhD or even a teaching degree to homeschool. All you need is a willingness to learn and along with the child and a lot of patience. So in India, homeschooling is legal as alternative education. Homeschooling is a popular option for parents who are constantly traveling or those who are living in remote locations like villages or farms. Parents of children with special needs and behavioral problems may also choose to homeschool. A vast number of parents opt for homeschooling due to their dissatisfaction with the assembly line method used in the current education system. They believe that traditional schooling does not nurture the love for learning among children. Other homeschools, so that their children can have the flexibility of pursuing extracurricular activities like sports and music. The key commonality between most of these parents opting to homeschool is that they are deeply involved in the child's education. The Montessori method is one of the popular methods used by the parents of the young children, followed by the Waldorf method. There are many types of curriculums following the traditional K 12 method. The homeschooled children can take various higher secondary exams for various institutes like NIOS or Cambridge if they wish to pursue college education. So there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages of homeschooling. Why I'm talking about just homeschooling? Because we all understand the traditional concept of schooling. We all know their pros and cons. We have learned all the pros and cons, and we have by far outreach the maximum ways that we can have a traditional way of learning. Especially the pandemic has taught us so much. So the advantages of homeschooling could be that a parent is in control of the child's education. You can take care of what he learns and what not. You can cater to your child's specific learning style. You work closely with your child, knowing her strengths and weaknesses. Your child will have a relaxed learning atmosphere at home. He can learn at his own pace without competing with anyone. Right. With no everyday rush to go to school, your family will have a more time. You can enjoy unplanned and long vacations without interrupting schools. There is no exam stress, so your child is likely to enjoy learning. You have a better chance to instill values that matter to you the most. Your child will have the freedom to move and play whenever she wants. Your child's learning is not confined to a classroom. The world will be his classroom. So these are the advantages that we've talked about homeschooling. So what if we talk about something which is, what are the disadvantages of a child being into a homeschooling? With your child's future sitting squarely on your shoulders, homeschooling can be a huge commitment. Homeschooling requires a lot of planning and can be intense and time consuming. When your family homeschools, either you or your spouse may have to stay at home. This can add pressure to your financial condition. You will have to bear the brunt of the others' opinion. Not everybody understands or appreciates homeschooling. Though homeschooled children have opportunities to socialize outside their home, they may lose out on forming close friendship circles with similar age classmates. Unlike a classroom, you may not have all the facilities like state of the art science labs or well equipped playgrounds. You may have to look at the other options to fill in these gaps which can be labor intensive. You will be handling your child for an entire 12 hours. You will need all the patience in the world. Enough is said. Lack of competition for your child is not always a good thing. Healthy competition pushes children to try harder to do their best without any competition. Your child may lose motivation to do better, right? When we were talking about how a child can be so you guys were talking a lot about that if there's a homeschooling, then the person cannot socialize. So likely I've mentioned, a child can socialize. So you have different mediums to socialize. I'm not favoring homeschooling. I'm just giving another point of view to homeschooling. Like we've discussed about a lot of traditional schooling and a homeschooling thing. Since not everybody is aware, though homeschooling is a legal option to opt for, not everybody is aware about homeschooling. So whenever you talk about socializing, that person may get more time to socialize in order to have various you know you can have co-curriculars added to your kitty which is more intense than the people or than students who are going regular to school, right? Why? Because you have more time, you can adjust your own time. So whatever I've spoken in terms of parent, wherein which can can be molded in terms of a student as well. So if you talk about, yeah, so there are obviously, so whenever we're talking about traditional learning, whenever we're talking about traditional schooling and homeschooling, obviously there are pros and cons for both the areas, both the way of education system, both the way of teaching style, learning, growing, having a creative aspect to everything has a different role play to it. So for example, if I'm talking about somebody who's an extrovert who would like to, so maybe just because he's spoken so much and he's into that confined group of learning, he may have a better understanding towards the world and with better knowledge because he's inquisitive into learning and learning and learning. Wherein, if you talk about somebody who's in a group of 20 students, maybe their mind of the creative mind has an upper edge towards somebody who's homeschooled. Why? Because when you are into a group of 20 people, you talk a lot. So for example, if I'm talking about homeschooling, for example, if I've said one word or I've given one idea, that could root into another many more ideas like these, or you can have some other understanding of how things can be solved or can be dealt with. So with this, I, Sakshi, host of the evening, would like to conclude this session of debate competition, wherein these kids have put across their viewpoints about traditional schooling and homeschooling. So, guys, your results will be announced based on your voting. So, make sure each one of you is subscribing the channel and voting for the best candidate. And the results will be announced really soon on our Instagram channel. So, stay tuned. And somebody who's not on Instagram will be announced on their groups as well. So, with the promise of coming back to another interesting topic for our debate competitions and our group discussions, stay tuned and do subscribe our channel and hit the bell icon for more.